welcome to another edition of the Red Mountain Express, episode 17, Matthew.
That's right. How's it going?
Going good. How are you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling good.
Did you have a good weekend so far?
I did. I'm well rested this weekend. It was a busy week. It was a busy 2 weeks, man. I'm exhausted. I've put in like almost 70 hours this last week at work.
You're such a good worker, man.
Man, don't even. So came home Friday night. We didn't really do anything. It was Friday the 13th, and we didn't watch any scary movies. And I'm not a huge scary movie buff. Around this time of year, I love to throw on some either some classics or some new stuff on Netflix, like something cheesy and campy. And we didn't do anything. So I've got a few on my list. I'm gonna try and squeeze them in sometime this week.
What you got?
I don't know. There's an older one called Cabin Fever that I've never watched.
Yeah, that's really
I've
good.
heard that's good. One of my favorites is Cabin in the Woods. Is a Joss Whedon. Came out maybe around 2010, 2014. So I don't remember. I can't tell you exactly when. That's a great one. It's campy. It's cheesy. It's got a twist. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it. It's just like scary monster movie enough to be a good October movie, but then it's Joss Whedon. If you've watched any of his TV shows, like any of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Firefly or Dollhouse,
What is it? No, I've heard Firefly over and over again. It's kind of like a cult following.
Yeah, it only lasted one season on Fox back when it first came on. Much like Joss Whedon's other stuff, for some reason his TV shows just don't stick around unless you're Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But like his other TV shows have never lasted long.
So he's not successful at all.
No, Joss Whedon.
Well, yeah, but you said his TV's never.
His
stick
TV
around.
shows have had a rough going.
Okay.
But Firefly is a cult classic. It's great. It's like a Western meets sci-fi space type TV show.
So kind of like Westworld.
Very entertaining, but more space than Westworld. Yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna try and do some of that this week. Since we didn't get anything Friday night in. Saturday, Laura picked up some tickets for the matinee show of Book of Mormon at the BJCC.
Oh, really?
So we went and did that.
How was it?
Man, that was excellent. I've heard that it's hilarious. I've heard how much people love it.
Some people say it's the best musical that's come out in a very, very long time.
I don't know. I honestly haven't seen a whole lot of musicals in my life. I think maybe on my list I've seen, I don't know, maybe 4. And I don't know if I can name all of them right now. The most recent one I saw was Kinky Boots in New York, and then the Book of Mormon here. We saw
Once in New York, which was really good.
I don't even know what that is.
I can't really remember a lot about it either, but it was good.
But Book of Mormon was excellent. Of course, if you don't know what Book of Mormon is, it was written by Trey Parker and Matt Stone of South Park fame. If you're familiar with any of their work, you've probably got a good idea of what the type of humor in the Book of Mormon is going to be. It's going to be very
off color.
It's going to be very they don't really hold much sacred. So everything is pretty much fair game when it comes to satirical humor or making fun of things or pointing out flaws in what they see in the particular subject. So Book of Mormon is a satirical work about some of the beliefs and practices of Mormons, specifically a group that's doing some mission work in Uganda. And I thought it was hilarious. The BJCC, the concert hall area is where it was at, and I don't know, there were some empty seats around us. We were on the second level, but there were a lot of people there, and it was a matinee show. I think they had shows this week, and then they added on these 2 extra shows yesterday and today.
And I think this is the second time the Book of Mormon has come to the Birmingham area, because I want to say it came here a year or so ago, or maybe 2 years ago, because we had some friends that went to it. But the Broadway in Birmingham, they always do that series, and it's always really, really good.
Yeah, and they've got several other shows coming up. They've got Buddy Holly show. They've got Kinky Boots. They've got The Lion King coming in March. My wife's
I need some
very
Fiddler on the Roof, and
that.
I'll be really, really good
right?
to go.
So anyway, yeah, great show. We had a great time. I laughed a whole lot, and that kind of has been it for the weekend. I've just kind of been lounging around. We did some housework, but that's kind of it. What about you?
We really kind of did the same thing, just not Book of Mormon, but we kind of just lounged around and didn't do much. Although we did go to Pepper Place yesterday morning and kind of walked around there, got a few things, and then after that we went to another place and bought a mum for the front door because it is October, as I like to call it, pre-Christmas. And no, we got a mum for the front door and got a fall-esque wreath for the front door, and we stacked our pumpkins and pulled out the clay jack-o'-lantern, so people will know it's fall when they come to our house. But it was a good weekend. I've enjoyed just kind of not really having many commitments It's been enjoyable, and didn't watch anything scary. I think Hocus Pocus was on, but that's really not that scary. I tell you a movie that was, I think was on the other day. I didn't get to watch it. It was Dreamcatcher.
Oh, yeah.
From
The
Stephen King.
Mm-hmm.
That is a scary movie. At least I thought it was scary. No? You don't think it's scary?
Well, I liked his books a lot. I think his movies are always extremely cheesy. It was a good movie. I enjoyed it. But it's so cheesy.
Really? Like what, Stand By Me was cheesy? The Shawshank Redemption was cheesy?
No. The newer, more like based on his like scary book type movies. What am I thinking of?
Was It cheesy?
It was very cheesy. Not the new It, the old It.
Yeah, it was scary.
Yeah, for a child, I think watching it now, I'd be like, oh, that's kind of campy. Anyway, speaking of watching scary things, maybe not as scary for you, but watching Auburn yesterday, man, talk about scary.
Well, first, I will say this: watching that game, the first and second quarter, this ball game's gonna be over soon. I mean, they're running through LSU like I've not seen before, and and Auburn hadn't won in Baton Rouge since 1999, and so you're like, okay, this is the year it's gonna happen. But then the second half came, and it just was a completely different Auburn team.
Well, yeah, so LSU's defense came back on the field looking a whole lot stronger. I don't know what they did in the locker room.
Coach O, gave him some jambalaya.
Right, or some cocaine, or just a really good rousing speech. I'm not sure. So between LSU's defense coming back looking strong and Auburn's offense just kind of falling apart, for lack of a better term, and it was ugly.
I want to say it was like 67 yards in the second half for the offense.
I'm not looking at numbers right now, but yeah, I think you're probably right.
And, I will say this. It wasn't like LSU came out and had, was running up and down the field. I mean, they went into the locker room, and I think it was 23-10 maybe. I think that sounds about right.
Mm-hmm.
And their scores came on a punt return and then 2 field goals that they were in position for these field goals because Auburn gave them the ball back in really good position. So It wasn't like they were moving on that Auburn defense, which is a really, really good defense. But, they blew a 20-point lead. They had a bad second half for the offense. They'll play, I believe, Texas A&M next week. Is that right?
I think that's right.
So, bad weekend for Auburn, but all's not lost. They're still in the race for the SEC West. National championship, maybe that's a little bit outside of the possibility.
Yeah, I hate to say this because I am a fan, but I don't know.
Well, LSU won it in 2007 with 2 losses.
Yeah.
So, look, I've seen some crazy things happen in football.
Sure.
So, on the Alabama side, they played Arkansas, defeated them 41-9, moving to 7-0 on the season. Alabama scored from the first play with a 75-yard run from Damian Harris. Something to note for Arkansas, they started their freshman quarterback for QB Austin Allen, who was out. His name was Cole Kelly. He is 6'7", 270 pounds.
He's a
grown
boy.
Damn man.
And then some. He's a big dude.
They beat up on him all night, but there was one time he got loose and went to the outside, and he ran over like 4 people. And I was like, there ain't no need for you to get – just let that guy go. Just let him go. But Alabama played very well. They play Tennessee next week, which I am still shocked that as it is right now, Sunday, 3 o'clock, and Butch Jones still has a job. How that is even possible is beyond me.
Right.
They haven't scored a touchdown in 21 days. I've scored a couple touchdowns in 21 days. They're bad. But it was a crazy weekend for college football. You saw, 4 top 10 teams go down? 2 on Friday night, and then 2 yesterday.
Right.
So, a lot of shakeup in football, but, really, really good day. Speaking of college football, UAB beat Middle Tennessee State 25-23. They've improved to 4-2 on the year, and they're 2-1 in Conference USA.
Yeah, and odds going in had Middle Tennessee winning.
I think it was 2.5 points going in. It was a close game, but I want to say that Middle Tennessee State led for most of the game, and then UAB kicked a field goal at the beginning of the fourth quarter to go ahead. They held them for the rest of the game, ended up winning. UAB running back Spencer Brown rushed for 167 yards in the game. Really, really good story in football. If you ask my opinion, this is, like I've said, a team that didn't have a program last year and now coming back from the dead. They're 4-2.
Mm-hmm.
How do they not become bowl eligible? Looking at the rest of their season, I can find 2 or 3 wins.
Yeah,
simple as that.
Yeah. So here's a question I've got for you.
Yeah.
UAB's head coach,
right? Bill Clark.
Is he going to be here next season?
That's a tough question. he's committed to this program. He was committed to it when they didn't have a program. When they decided to bring it back, he could have easily taken a job somewhere else because he's been very successful at every level he's been. But I think he's committed to this program. Now, having said that, if another program that's maybe a higher tier program than UAB comes calling,
maybe looking for a new coach because their current coach hasn't scored in a few days, a few weeks,
possibly. But I don't think you can fault him for taking that option,
right?
But I think that if something happens to Bill Clark where he has to leave, that you have to continue the progress that UAB's made with facilities and with the community getting around this team and going to the games. I think, don't quote me on this, but I want to say I read where UAB is on the top of Conference USA when it comes to attendance.
Yeah.
That's a big change from where UAB was a few years ago. I think it's a definite possibility. He is a hot commodity. You've seen what he's done with a team that didn't exist a year ago. I mean, they're 4-2. They're 2-1 in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're third in their division, and they could easily slip into that first place with a loss by North Texas, and them keep winning. So I think all possibilities could be on the table, but. I think right now, UAB is focusing on making sure they can continue the season successfully.
Yeah, and to be clear, there's no rumors of that.
No, we talked about this before, and I mean, if I am the athletic director of a really good program, I mean, how do you not give him a look?
Right.
I think he was successful at Jacksonville State. He's been successful at UAB. Who's to say he won't be successful with, more resources at a bigger program?
And of course, you have to look at his support staff that he's got right now. Everybody seems to be doing a really great job. They all seem to be working together really well. A football team is not just the coach, so there's a lot of things to consider there. But yeah, I agree with you. If you're out there as a bigger team with more resources and you're looking for a new coach, yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't at least give him a very cursory glance to say, hey, look at what this guy's doing with this program.
And he could take the position saying, like, look, this is my program now. Mm-hmm. I'm going to stick out, the time I have with it. I'm going to make sure that they get to be to a successful level where I can leave and feel really good about it. But I will say this, if something were to happen where he does leave and go to a bigger program, that shouldn't be held against him. I mean, he's got to think about his career as well.
Right, yeah. Same goes for anybody. You're always wanting to advance in your career.
Says Nick Saban, he's good. He's not going anywhere.
He's advanced in his career, I believe. I don't think he's going to go pro again. Like, that's...
maybe it's a possibility.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so.
You think he's going to coach till he's 85?
I don't even know if he'll do that. I don't know that there's he can't. I don't know. He could keep trying to increase his current record so that it's not going to be broken anytime soon. But is there really...
No complacency? It's the process. The process.
Yeah.
Every play has a life of its own.
Yeah, sure. So in other news this weekend, I saw something interesting. It's not a huge deal, but I thought it was interesting. Earlier this week on the 9th, the Seattle Times posted a story recognizing our Birmingham's campaign to bring Amazon, the Bring A to B campaign that's going on here.
Now,
in the
do
city.
you think Jeff Bezos reads the Seattle Times?
I have no idea.
Jeff, I know you listen to the Red Mountain Express. Read the Seattle Times.
So the story itself, it didn't really say much good or bad about our campaign. It really just kind of pointed out, the main thing it pointed out was, there's those giant Amazon Dash buttons that they put up in a few places. Apparently, and I didn't know this until I read the story, every time somebody pushes the actual button on that big Dash button, it sends out one of like 600 pre-written tweets.
Can I just say something about these tweets?
Okay.
Look, they're great tweets. Well, most of them are great. Some of them are kind of just obvious. But if you're going to tweet about Amazon, whoever's doing these tweets, for God's sake, tag Amazon in the tweet. I mean, don't just put out a tweet. Put like, Birmingham's a great city at Amazon. You should come here.
So you've seen some that don't have an Amazon tag?
Yes, and it's just like, what are y'all doing? I mean, do I need to go in there and tag everybody or every tweet that doesn't have Amazon to make sure they see it? I mean, come on. This is easy, folks.
So,
it's a great campaign. Do not get me wrong. I think it's great. I like the buttons. I like the boxes. I like the push that Birmingham's doing it. But for God's sakes, tag Amazon in the tweets.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to get like a nasty email from somebody. There's a reason behind it. But
somebody's going to tag you in a tweet. Is that at Blake Westbrook? Is that
Bring it.
Like I said, the story itself in the Seattle Times didn't really say much good or bad. It just said, hey, this is what Birmingham doing. Take a look at it.
It said good things. It was good things.
Then they said at the very end there, the city. This is a quote. The city, likely a long shot with a population of 212,000. And it goes on, end quote. It was just a little jab there saying that we were a little bit small, but we still met the requirements for the metro area with 1 million people. That wasn't really.
Who else?
It was just an obvious.
You know who else was a long shot? George Washington. He was a long shot.
I thought you were going to say Rudy.
No. George Washington, and he was successful, and because he was successful, Birmingham could be successful.
Touche.
America. Okay, sorry. We'll move on from that. It was a good article, right?
Yeah, it was a good article. Seattle Times. I will try to link the article in our show notes. But other than that, let's take a quick break, roll the promo for Beach and Woodworks, and when we come back from that, we have a few more stories to talk about. Sound good?
See you in a minute. Beach and Woodworks is a locally owned and operated wood shop in Birmingham, Alabama, specializing in custom furniture and small home goods. Chris and Kanan Beecham create a wide variety of unique pieces of all sizes, ranging from cutting boards to farmhouse tables. Using wood sourced from Alabama sawmills, Beach and Woodworks creates affordable, quality pieces that will be a one-of-a-kind fixture for your home. So support your local woodworker and visit redmountainexpress.com/woodworks or check them out on their Facebook and Instagram accounts. Beach and Woodworks, turning your house into a home. And welcome back to the second half of the Red Mountain Express. Matthew, we got some news items that have made its way into the media. The first thing I wanted to mention is that Randall Woodfin made some announcements in regards to his transition to the mayor's office. He renamed retired General Charles Krulak, who is basically credited for saving Birmingham Southern College from financial ruin. He named him and Bobby Knight, who is a retired Alabama Power VP, to his transition team. These are really good names.
Yeah, they really are. Krulak, I didn't know a whole lot about until this story came out, and I did a little bit more research. He's very esteemed, very decorated. He's like, I think you said, the real deal.
Yeah, he was the commandant of the Marine Corps back in the mid to late 90s. He had really no connection to Birmingham or Alabama till he came to Birmingham Southern College when he was interviewing to be their president. For those that don't know, Birmingham Southern College is in financial peril. They had some accounting error that had accumulated up to like $65 million in debt. And so basically he took over and brought them back in the black and basically rejuvenated the program. They named the football field after him. He is really well liked in the community here in Birmingham. And he's like a no-nonsense type of guy. So it's good to have someone like that for your transition staff. And Bobby Knight is just as successful. You know, she worked her way up. She became the VP of the Birmingham division of Alabama Power. She's the past chair for the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. She served on Rev Birmingham's board. And for those who don't know, we interviewed Rev Birmingham earlier in this season, so please go back and take a listen to that. And she was also recognized as a top Birmingham woman by the Birmingham Business Journal. So she is very well accomplished. She's also an attorney as well. So
yeah.
The list goes on and on with these two wonderful public servants, and I think they will serve Mayor-elect Woodfin very well. By the way, Mayor-elect, you said you'd come back on the show. Clock's ticking, man.
Well, to be fair, we haven't emailed him yet. We haven't called him.
He should be listening, man.
If he is,
I know he's
busy.
He's busy, right? He's busy trying.
He's got one or two things on his plate right now.
Like what? Running the city?
Yeah,
Okay, good point.
Preparing to run the city. He's also named Ed Fields, who was a campaign manager, as the transition
coordinator. That's really good. That's really good as well.
And, we got to meet Ed and talk with him a little bit. Very nice guy.
Pretty organized.
Him and his wife own a business here in Birmingham. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the name of it. And then, so did Woodfin or the article name what roles Krulak and Knight would be in?
They're just the transition chairs.
Okay.
So basically, they'll just kind of lead the transition to kind of make sure there's a smooth transition of power, which is is going to take place on November 28th. I know that Woodfin had said originally that he was going to take office when the city council did in late October. However, that's not what the Mayor Council Act said. It did say that he would take office the 4th Tuesday of November, which is November 28th.
I know we speculated last week a little bit about
Right.
would he not, and it seems like he's whether or not. I mean, I'm going to use these words, and this may not be completely accurate to the tone, but he's not going to fight this. You know, he's back down.
And
I
think that, you know, I mean, you look at the law, and the law says one thing, you can't.
Right.
I mean, normally you're not supposed to go against the law. I mean, but you know, that's a different episode. But no, that's a really good positive step. I think that's the right step that Woodfin's making. These 2 transition chairs are really going to move things forward, and I think he's setting up to have a really smooth transition.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of solid experience, and I look forward to seeing what they do and how he uses them. Other really big news, at least for me. So
it was shocking when I saw
on
this.
the 13th, Friday, AL.com released an article talking about orchestra partners buying up lots of property in Avondale. Pretty much all the property that Avondale Brewing, Post Office Pies, Saul's Soul Kitchen, Avondale Common House, Wasabi Wines, and the Sour Room sit on. They have bought that whole
strip of properties.
Yeah,
I mean, it's basically what it is. But the big news was what, Matthew?
So in this story, and if you weren't paying attention, you might miss it. Not only was that property bought, but Avondale Brewing Company LLC was actually also sold to this orchestra partners. That's huge.
That's the brewery, right?
Yeah, that's the brewery,
and the sour room.
The sour room. I'm assuming. Don't they own Post Office Pies?
I'm not sure. I know there's a connection there, maybe, or maybe not, or maybe it's the Saul's folks that own Post Office Pies.
Have to double check that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's huge. And so in the story in AL.com's article, it pretty much said that they would hand over management of Avondale Brewing Company to a trusted partner.
Okay, so I was reading the article too, and it said it has partnered with with someone to manage it, to own and manage it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they went in with somebody else as a part owner. And I think that there have been rumors going around on who will manage this. I don't know if we want to traffic in those right now, but I mean, do you? I don't know.
It's okay. So let's take an aside here. This is a rumor,
all right,
and right now,
take your salt,
right,
and pour it all over this rumor.
Blake and I have no confirmation. We have not talked to anybody at these locations. We don't have any groundbreaking scoops. This is just a rumor.
We haven't asked anybody. It's just a rumor.
So take this, as he said, with all of the salt. Yeah. The rumor that we have obviously both heard is that Good People Brewing Company will be running Avondale Brewing Company.
That'd be big.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think?
Let's say it was true. Now, disclaimer, we have no idea if this is true or not, but we've heard this from, we've seen this several places.
Yeah.
It's good in the fact that it's a Birmingham-owned company that makes really good beer that's going to come in and run them. I would not think that they would change much, because if it ain't broke, you don't fix it. Avondale Brewery has some really good beers. They have a really good space. The back part is wonderful, where I've seen families out there. We've done it as well. Sit out there and picnic, and then we'll watch some bands.
Yeah, good concerts.
Yeah, so I would hope they're just going to come in there, and whoever it is, come in there and manage it, and make sure that that everything runs smoothly and there's a smooth transition, since we're going to be using that word over and over in this.
Maybe bring some consistency. I know that's if there is any one complaint that I've ever had about Avondale, for as much as I love some of their beers, they can be a little inconsistent here and there. And I'm not saying that if Good People were to be taking over, that they would necessarily, because they're so awesome, bring consistency. I'm just saying whoever is taking over in this leadership role, this ownership role, maybe they can bring something like that. I don't know. It's interesting. It's going to be an interesting phase to see what happens here.
And, when I read the article, I went to Avondale's website, I went to the Facebook page, I went to all their channels that they go to their customers with, and there was not one hint of any change.
Yeah.
So that's good. It's not like you saw something on a website like Avondale Brewery has been sold and, more updates to be coming later. It's just kind of like business as usual. Everything is going to run smooth, and nothing's to worry about. And I love Avondale Brewery. I love their beers there. But, I think that a lot of people are kind of on edge about this, because Avondale and Avondale Brewery and Parkside were kind of the anchors of that renaissance that happened in the Avondale area, and I think people don't want to see that change. You know?
Well, and to be fair, so in the AL.com article, the orchestra partners principal Hunter Renfro.
Yeah, and they're all Birmingham folks, right?
Well, so far as I know,
Yeah,
I think that's right. Renfro is.
they're a local company, right?
So Renfro was quoted as saying that the group knows how important this property is to the character of the neighborhood and its ongoing renaissance, and was very clear in trying to say that they didn't have any plans to do much more than enhance the walkability and the features of the area, which kind of just sounds like to me their only plans at this moment are to spruce up the neighborhood, so to speak. Maybe
if they build a parking lot, man, I'll be all for them.
Build a parking lot, maybe create some better walking areas. Yeah. So that's good news. If that's their only goal at this moment is to really enhance what they've already got, that's a good thing.
And the only reason we're bringing this story to everybody's attention is this is a big investment. I mean, you see all these properties they've bought, and then you saw one of the cornerstones of the Avondale Renaissance get bought up and possibly new management. I mean, that has a lot of consequences, could be good consequences for the area.
Could be.
So we're going to keep everybody updated on the story. It's just kind of something I saw this 2 days ago, and I know you had saw it as well, and we kind of both had it on our list of things to talk about, and so we know it's pretty important. But I kind of hope Avondale stays the same. I love their the Scottish ale they have over there. It's one of my favorite beers, and then they have a bunch of other sour beers that I really, really enjoy.
And not just Avondale. You know, you got to think if all the property is being sold or has been sold for all these locations, that could, have detrimental effects to these locations. They could be shut down or sold to somebody else. Or so I really don't want to see any of these locations be affected too much because I have enjoyed all of them. Especially places like Post Office Pies and Saul's Soul Kitchen. Man, I can't tell you how many times I love frequented either one of those places.
So, and Saul's are good too. Never been to Wasabi Juan's.
I've been to Wasabi Juan several times, and they have a new location in Hoover. I think that's right.
Is it a fusion place? Is that right?
Yeah, it's like a sushi, but in a burrito form. If that makes sense to you.
Sushi in a burrito form.
It's like a sushi Western fusion type thing.
It's kind of like Westworld.
See, you've done it again. No, I enjoy Wasabi Ones though. It's pretty good.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Well, we'll keep everybody updated on the story. If you have any insight on this or kind of just have a comment, please let us know on redmountainexpress.com. That's kind of going to do it for this episode. We hope to hear from you on our certain channels on Facebook, Twitter, and if you are tweeting at Amazon, please tag Amazon. But we'd also love to hear back from you. Like I said, redmountainexpress.com. So for Matthew Joyner, I'm Blake Westbrook. We will see you next week.